to go. All we need is an open road and a chance to
Hi guys, Anton here from Adventure Africa, and with me again I've got Tony from Adventure Africa Training and Tours. And Tony, last time we had a brief thing about some of the most important things you have, but today we're going to chat about exactly what you have or what you are carrying along with you on a trip, in a sense of recovery gear. And there's a lot actually that you can get. I mean, you've got the stuff that you feel is essential for you, but there's so much more that you can actually also add on and put on, and to prevent problems and also to be able to recover someone.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
where do you start, Tony? Where will you start? I mean, last time we did say Spade is number one. Well, you call it a hoe. Ho.
Spade, shovel, or hoe.
Spade, shovel, or hoe. So why the spade? I mean, yes, it's to clear sand, but is there anything else?
Yeah, in the previous series we did discuss a few vital pieces of equipment. Once again, back to the shovel or hoe or spade is we need that for many reasons. One is obviously if you need to go to the bush with some white gold, it's important so that you get rid of that business and burn the paper. Don't forget to
burn the paper. Dig your hole, burn the paper, and don't tell me no, but it's weird, it won't like. Burn what you can.
It will not degenerate. What's the word?
Disintegrate.
Disintegrate. It will stay there forever, up to 20 years, I believe. Anyway, so that's the one important reason we got a spade. The second one would be to do the necessary work and make life easier. For example, we spoke about removing the sand in front of the wheel or the mud in front of the wheel, making that pull of recovery so much lighter. So it's vital having that.
And it's also a nice thing to have when you're making a fire, moving coals around.
I suppose as a second bit of importance, yes, we needed to move those coals around underneath our grill.
Okay, so it's spade, but you've got much more. Tell us what's in your recovery kit.
Well, obviously the recovery kit is essential. So
the recovery kit itself.
The kit itself. So we're talking the straps and the bow shackles and the snatch blocks and the blankets and all of those type of things. So the whole kit is vital, with the gloves and everything, all comprehensively packed into a beautiful bag like this. So yeah, so this is all important. That tire repair kit that we spoke about, once again, definitely a vital piece of equipment. I mean, many times you're only going to get a thorn in the tire, which results in a slow puncture overnight, or even just a small hole in the tread.
Listen,
obviously, if you're going to sidewalls,
there's other problem.
There's another story. Yes.
But listen, let's go back to the recovery kits again. So there's recovery kits and there's recovery kits. This is really an extensive one that we've got here. What would you like to see in a recovery kit? I mean, how many bow shackles is enough? How many soft shackles is enough? What should be in it for you to say, yes, this is a good kit?
If we start off with the simplest things like a pair of gloves, or maybe even two pairs. We start off with a simple one called the pull strap, which is, we all know what it's for. It's to use, as its name says, to pull. So,
and don't try and snatch with it.
No, this is definitely not. There's no ricking and plucking on this rope at all. It's a matter of taking up the strain and just assisting the car that's stuck or needs to be recovered off the rock or off the ledge or out of the ditch. It's no ricking or plucking. It's just
an extension to your winch.
Absolutely. It's got many features. So it's an extension to the winch as well. You can even connect it to a kinetic rope. So you cannot connect two kinetic ropes, but you can connect that. We'll discuss and demonstrate the connecting points as well, which brings me to the point of how do you connect? So I've seen it before. Obviously, people use something like this to connect the two ropes together. Well, that is just treacherous and it's not going to work. So that's a no. You possibly could use what they call a soft shackle. That would work. Or as I've got a piece of wood from a pick, which is cut into lengths, and I just use that to join the two ropes. So there's no knot tying, there's no looping of the ropes, anything like that, which means that at the end of it, I can release everything without having to untie knots.
So, but again, we're talking about a recovery kit, and you get a 3-ton one, you get an 8-ton one, you get a 12-ton one, you get a and 300-ton one.
Yeah.
Where do you start? How do you decide which one is best?
Well, this is a very important thing, because if you had to take the vehicle mass and you look at a rope like this, so this would be an 8-ton rope, for example. So we know this car weighs 2 to 3 tons. Now that's all very well when it's driving on a flat surface like tar and that. So there's a factor involved. So if you were stuck in mud, say wheel depth, you have to times the weight of this car by 0.5, and that would be now your recovery weight. Now, if I took a cruiser, for example, with a big caravan based on the back of it, or even towing a caravan, I know for a fact my little 8-ton rope is not going to suffice, even though there is a safety factor of 4 built into it. But I'm going to put this to the real limit. So I wouldn't go. So if I'm driving big cruisers, Ivecos, those type of vehicles, I would spring immediately up to the 12-ton ropes.
Dust.
So if I was driving Iveco, Land Cruisers, or the heavier vehicles, I would immediately jump to the next set of strength, which would be the 12-ton.
Okay, so for this vehicle, 8-ton will suffice.
Will suffice, because
for cruiser, go for the 12-ton.
Absolutely.
If you're doing Iveco, maybe a little bit bigger. Do you get bigger recovery kits, a 15-ton or an 18-ton?
Absolutely. But that's specialized now. So you'd have to speak to the people that manufacture. So we're talking about Unimogs and vehicles like that.
Okay, so you would want at least a couple of shackles in it. You would want the right ropes. Make sure there's gloves in it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
On the shackle side of things, I would definitely carry 4 shackles. Well, I do. So for many reasons, because a lot of times people will say, can I borrow your shackle quickly? And you never see it again. The other thing is, if I drop this into sand, thick sand, like in the Savuti or something like that, there's a good chance I'm not going to find it again. So having spares is a good option. So I carry 4. In fact, I haven't got more. I've got about 8 of them, which I carry just in case.
And do you paint it a bright color or anything? Or
I have, but I still find that if it's in the sand, I can't find it.
Doesn't matter if it's bright pink or silver.
But it does help. It does help if you paint it with a day-glow color, like a day-glow green, which is what mine were. They do stand out a lot easier, yes.
Okay, I see you've got a first aid kit here or a medical kit.
Yeah.
What do you have in it? What do you think is important to have?
You know, Anton, in the old days, before modern technology with fancy things like Leathermans, we would have burns and sprains as probably the number 1 injury. Today's terms, the biggest injury would be a cut on the palm. You won't believe it, it's number 1 injury there is. And the reason for that is the guy's driving along with his Leatherman cutting biltong.
Oh, goodness.
And of course, that's where he gets his laceration from. Now, if you're going to on a tour and you're on your way because you still got biltong, that means you're on your way. It means that you're going to do this whole tour with a nasty laceration. And it's a laceration that's going to need stitches. So in the medical kit, we're not asking you to become doctors and do stitching and heart transplants, etc. But the basics is necessary. So the first one would be your typical medicines. So things like the
antihistamine,
anti-allergy equipment, pain pills, for headache. However, making sure that your chemist is giving you the right stuff for it, because obviously you can't just be giving pills out willy-nilly. So you've got to be very careful with that. Then, of course, it comes to something like a laceration, or small or cut like that. So your things like tweezers and then plasters would be the next essential. And then it gets bigger, so you'd need something like bandages, obviously with some gauze, etc., antiseptic gauze and things like that would cover it. And then it goes further into things like sprains and breaks. So I've got neck brace, I've got arm braces, I've got slings, I've got all of that type of equipment in there.
And then there's also your old stuff like your burn shield, your things to get a person a little bit better, more rehydrated with some electrolytes and stuff like that, because a runny stomach is something that happens on a trip.
That's everything that I got in there. When I said I talk about your medicines, so I've got the runny tummies. I've also got the constipation tablet. I've also got, as you said, antiseptic creams and things like that. But the vital one is, and this is an important one, is burn shields. Because the worst thing is, and we know what's happening, is we all play with fire at a braai or even in the engine. If you touch your arm onto a hot exhaust, it's going to be a nasty exercise.
And even if you're doing a recovery and it's in the middle of the day, you forget about sunscreen and what have you, and you can get a nasty sunburn as well.
Absolutely, that's uncomfortable. And then of course that big one, rehydration. I think we all fall under that problem. We don't drink enough water.
Okay, so now we've got the recovery kit, we've got our medical aid kit. I would say the next one that I see and that is very important is tire care. That's your tire repair kit.
Tire care comes from preparation. It's not only necessary having a fantastic kit with all the equipment in it. So you've got all your necessary little items in it.
So
it comes from preparation.
You don't only have plugs there. I see you've got extra valves there. You've got a couple of extra stuff. I presume there's a couple of things that's in here. But how do you get a tire off in the bush?
Oh, that's simple. So let's go back to the process. When I said preparation, obviously the condition of the tire is vital. Then of course tire pressures. Now tire pressures is a major success in off-roading and traveling safely. So correct pressures would be necessary, and then of course deflation when you do go off-road. So once we deflate it, we're obviously more susceptible to having a puncture because now we're bulging, we've got more area to look for snags. There's two types of punctures we're going to get. The one would be the sidewall cut, where this is now really a nasty one, which would typically mean a change of tire. And then the simple one would be a thorn in the tread or a nail even, or anything that would cause a leak. That is where these kits will come in. I have often felt that a valve starts leaking because if we're driving in sand, some guys don't have valve caps on them and there might be a little bit of sand or mud in it, and eventually that starts leaking. In fact, every time I do wheel alignment on my car, which I do every 10,000 Ks, I spray a little bit of Q20 in there.
Okay.
Or WD-40, just so that it's nice and smooth and it doesn't crack up.
So there's the tire repair kit. I know that you've got already installed in your vehicle, you've got a
tire pump.
Well, it's not a tire pump.
Compressor.
You've got a little compressor there in your vehicle, yeah. And you've got a nice tire inflating and deflating system, the Indiflate.
Yeah, so it's not a necessity to have it because I can always share it with you or I can borrow yours. But it's so nice to have and not to irritate you by asking, can I borrow yours? So I've got my compressor installed in the car. And yes, all I can do is I just clip it on. It's wired up, everything electrically is in. So all I need to take is my Indiflate, clip it in there, put it onto both tires, and I can pump both wheels up at the same time.
And something that a lot of people don't really know or don't even think about is your spare tire. I mean, your spare tire is vital. I mean, for two reasons. That is your backup when things go bad.
Absolutely.
But you know what? It's also a hell of a nice thing to store air in, because a lot of guys don't do this, and I don't understand why. Take your tire, bump it up to 3 bar.
I pump mine to 4 bar.
4 bar, and it's the quickest way to inflate the tire, because you just, especially with the Indiflate,
absolutely,
you hook the two tires up, equalize immediately, and you don't have a flat anymore, and you don't have to go and take out all the equipment to do that quickly.
In my car, my biggest hate of touring or traveling or camping even is to unpack something to get something.
Yeah.
So it drives me absolutely insane. So all my equipment is easily accessible. So if you ask me for a bottle of olive oil, I can go and open a lid and I'll give you a bottle of oil. If you ask me for a 10 spanner, I'll open a lid and I'll give you a 10 spanner. I don't have to unpack boxes. I don't have to unpack. So having that accessible is also just so much more comfortable.
And especially for the guys, for example, with the cruisers. I mean, a lot of them drive with 2 spare tires on the back.
Yeah.
Pump them up.
Use
it as your quick flip and fix.
It's a brilliant storage for air. Brilliant.
Okay.
It's the only guys that know about that is the Prado guys, because they've got sensors on their rear wheels.
Okay, so then another thing, and this is the thing that you normally don't need, but the day when you need it and you don't have it, you're gonna cry, and that's a winch.
Yeah, the winch. You know, I would if there was a list of 1 to 10, I would put it on number 10.
But if you're stuck in some place and you need it, then it's number one.
The best thing about having a winch is that your mate has got it. Because that's the best winch you could ever have, is that your mate's got it. And that is why traveling solo is a risk. If you're traveling solo and you're going to places that require a possible recovery, then definitely yes. If you're traveling in groups, it's not always necessary. So I wouldn't put a winch as a high priority item, but it is extremely helpful, and
It's good to have.
it's a winner when you need it.
Okay, so what else do you have in your recovery kit?
Two other items that are vital, of importance, and that would be the jacking systems.
Yeah.
So what we've got is we've got two methods. The normal jack that the cars come with, well, we know they're not going to work. And if we're talking Hilux, well, I don't know why they gave us that thing. It's just weight.
That
So
little scissor jack.
I can add six more beers if I take my standard jack out for the same weight. So either a high lift jack or an air jack. We will demonstrate these two pieces of equipment because both are dangerous. They're not comfortable equipment to use. They're heavy, they're bulky, they rattle. Well, the high lift jack does. The airbag doesn't. But the high lift jack, it's a nasty piece of equipment. And if incorrectly used,
It can kill you.
it will damage you for life. You will remember it. You will never ever forget that. If it doesn't kill you, as you say, it can be fatal. It's a good chance it'll break your jaw. It's just a horrible piece of equipment, but it is 100%. Thank you. I've got it in my car.
But it's also vital that you need to understand how to use it
Yes.
safely. And the word safely is the most important thing. I mean, I've seen that a high lift jack just decides to release and it becomes,
Yeah, and you
it's
can't
scary.
trust it. It's not a trustworthy piece of equipment because if I jack the car up, it's incredibly unstable. Two, if the arm and the clips are not put in the right positioning, it can become a missile, if you want to use those words.
But it also, a high lift jack can also be used as a type of winch. So you can have multiple purposes for using your high lift jack
And a clamp.
and a clamp.
So it has extra purposes. It works like a Teffer winch. So not the easiest thing to winch in if you ever try and hold a long pole that's under tension, but it does work. It can work. Only problem is you can only winch the length of your jack.
Yeah.
Which means now you need a chain instead of, you don't need rope. So you need the rope to fasten it to the car, but you need a chain from the base plate, which is removed, to the recovery point, whatever it is, the tree or another car, which means that you can now shorten the chain, shorten the chain, shorten the chain. But if you look at the weight of that chain, it's an extra piece of equipment which weighs a lot.
Okay. So last thing that you said there was two more things. So one was the air jack. Well, it was the air jacking system. Is there anything else?
A fridge.
Well, you want to go and get the beer already. I'm still thinking about sand tracks.
Oh, sand track. I suppose we haven't finished that.
We haven't finished the sand tracks yet. So for me, sand tracks are of vital importance.
Well, you notice that I do not have sand tracks on my car. And I've also noticed that you get two types of sand tracks. One I can buy and take a lot.
Yeah.
And the other one I buy from a
reputable
company.
Yeah.
Do not waste your money. I have bad experience with sand tracks. We've left them. In fact, two of them are still in Magadi pans. We've never ever recovered them again because they just sank away and broke up into pieces. So they were so deep that we couldn't recover them. So a proper sand track would be beneficial.
Well, here's the interesting thing. You're saying now you buried those sand tracks, and I'm going to actually teach you something today because it's actually something that I've also learned because I've also buried sand tracks and almost
couldn't it out.
Just put about 3 meters between those two tracks, and you can pull it out.
Well, that's all very well and said when we just said that if it's a proper track, which hasn't broken up into pieces.
Yeah.
But the tracks that we had, they actually, I don't know, must have been 4 or 5 pieces. It was useless. We picked up 2 or 3 that we could carry and took with us. The others we couldn't even get out the ground. But yes, you're correct. If you put a strap on it so that when you recover, you don't have to walk all the way back, number 1, to go fetch them, and 2, that you actually do pull them out of the ground as well. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And a nice thing, if you're not hitching them to your vehicle when you recover, when you're using them, I've seen guys put a little piece of pool noodle in the middle,
oh, yes,
so that stays afloat on top of the sand. So you can find them and you can pull them out. But yeah, a lot of people don't do that. They just put the sand tracks, and I've seen so many guys just lose them because you won't believe how deep they get
Oh,
buried.
yeah. Oh, I know.
You're not talking about, you think they're just riding here underneath the wheel. They get stuck half meter to a meter deep under the sand. And when that sand is hot, you do not get to them.
Or even worse, mud. I mean, we've already had an experience where we got stuck. And the only way, I didn't have sand ladders those days. It was before sand ladders were even brought into the country. So the only way I could do it was with a high low jack. I managed to get the car up using the spare wheel on the ground. So that was the only base large enough to jack my car up. But the problem was the spare wheel sank so deep in the mud that was a recovery on its own to get the spare wheel out.
But yeah,
So they come with pros and cons. But yeah, sand ladders. I would definitely say, and which you see I don't have on my car.
if someone is wondering,
If somebody's watching, so yes, I would love a set of sand ladders, and so I can also rate them on our list.
well, is there anything else? I think we've pretty much covered it all. But just a quick recap: make sure that your recovery kit is rated for your vehicle.
Absolutely,
Make sure you've got the right equipment in your recovery kit.
yes,
So ample shackles, the right kinetic rope, tow rope, whatever you need. Make sure you've got a decent first aid kit
yep.
with the right equipment again. And make sure that if you guys are taking a medical kit out into the bush, you can't just dispense medicine left, right, and
No.
center. There can be liabilities if someone is allergic to something.
Yeah.
So just make sure that you just don't give out whatever you want to give out. We talked winches, we talked jacks, high lift, and the air jacks.
Absolutely, we talk shovel.
Talk shovel, number one thing that you
Yeah.
need to have in your vehicle. That's the first thing you buy before you do anything else.
And don't buy these little fold-up shovels. They're
Get
great.
a decent shovel.
They're great for the toilet, absolutely. But get a proper shovel with a decent handle that you can at least pick up mud and sand if you are going to dig holes.
One where you have enough leverage to either
Yeah.
pick up or pull.
Or drag the thing, yes.
And then the last one was
Well, the last two I would not forget the two-way radio again.
two-way radio.
Communication
Oh.
between the recovery and yourself. It makes it so much safer. And it's nice information I can hand over to you.
But yeah, I think we've covered most of it. If you guys think we've missed something, just put it down in the comments and we will definitely pick up on that. But yeah, Tony, next episode, we're going to show people how to use a kinetic strap or
And
a
a pull
kinetic
strap,
rope or a kinetic strap or whatever they want to call it, or a snatch rope or a snatch strap. It's the same thing. If someone asks you for a kinetic rope and you've got a snatch rope, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, and so we'll be building, we'll be doing recoveries with a winch. We will show you how to use the winch, the different ways to use the winch. We will demonstrate how to fix a tire. We'll do a real couple of nice, quick self-help videos for you guys.
Absolutely.
But yeah, guys, I'm Anton from Adventure Africa, and with me is Tony from Adventure Africa Trading and Tours. And if you like what you see, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and Tony, next time.
We say cheerio. See you next time.
Cheers, guys.